Now, the British Columbia government is officially apologizing for mistreating hundreds of kids whose families opposed the government in the 1950s. Roughly 200 children from families belonging to the Sons of Freedom Doukhobors were forcibly sent to a provincial camp where many say they suffered physical and psychological abuse. The Doukhobors were immigrants from Russia who settled in Canada starting in 1899. 70 years after the children were taken from their homes, they are receiving recognition and compensation for what they went through.
The province of British Columbia recognizes the hurt and the trauma experienced by the Sons of Freedom and by the broader Doukhobor community. Today, on behalf of the province of British Columbia, we acknowledge and apologize for these past injustices. To build on this apology, the province will be contributing $10 million to support the Doukhobor community. This initiative will help people hurt by these historical wrongs and will help prevent similar occurrences in the future.
CBC's Tricia Kindleman is following today's developments, joins us now. Tricia, we are hearing from some of the families, some of whom say the compensation isn't enough. Tell us a bit about that.
That's right, Hannah. So at this point, they were really looking for that apology and some compensation, but the structure of this compensation package isn't exactly what they were hoping it to be. They were looking more for individual direct payouts, but this is going to be structured a bit more as a fund that will help sustain education and healthcare as well for this group. But if we take a look back a bit at the history here, now they did settle, like you said, the 1890s around, that was the time they came to Canada, but it was between 1953 and 1959 when some 200 children were taken from these families belonging to the Sons of Freedom Doukhobors. So now this movement was, they fled Tsarist Russia. They were pacifist Christians living communally, and they clashed with government and law enforcement. They were at times they would protest in the nude and even set their homes on fire to make a statement that they didn't want to send their children to public schools. And that was when the government decided to move in, take their kids away to what you can see here is the new Denver dormitory. It was initially built as a tuberculosis hospital, but then was shifted, if you will, converted to this use as a camp for these kids. And now, we did speak to a few of the survivors ahead of today's apology. You know, they talked about suffering physical and mental abuse at these camps, only seeing their parents twice a month. In that video there, you saw a visit between, or with a fence between children and their parents. And that was the only way those children got to see their parents for a long period of time. Now, Betty Kabatoff did speak with CBC News. Here's a bit more about what she has to say about the apology.
I want people to know what the government did to us. They were mean, cruel, physical, mental abuse, big time. 8-year-old child to go through that. No one has to. I was waiting for an apology, for them to acknowledge what they did to us, because I do not want another child to go through what I went through.
So now family members and survivors were in the BC legislature today, at one point even breaking out into song during the welcome. So this news being met with, I say, some tepid welcome, if you will, Hannah, I guess. That would be the best way to describe it now.
So tell us more about the compensation package.
That's right. So it is looking at preserving and promoting the cultural heritage and historic sites that are left behind from that community. It also does want to support education. A number of Canadians aren't even aware of the Doukhobors or this situation. So they do want to make sure that there is an educational component as well. They're also going to be conducting research and expanding access to mental health services as well as wellness programs for the survivors and their families that do remain today in British Columbia.
Tricia, thank you for the latest on this.
Thanks.